Hello, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our live question and answer class. Usually we have these classes on Friday, but this week we're meeting on Thursday, and we'll be back to Fridays again next week. Thanks for joining me. Please feel free to ask your questions at any time. I'm going to be talking today about American English vowel sounds and giving you some help for thinking about vowels and how you can improve your accent. And I'll give you a quick tip that you can use right away, as well as some other resources that are available on my channel page and on my website, speechmodification.com. Feel free to ask your questions at any time. I'll be monitoring those and answering them as they come up. They can be about vowels or about anything else related to American accent, intonation, pronunciation, the questions that you have that you'd like to hear the answers to. So let's talk about vowels. When we think about vowels and English, we might be thinking about the vowel letters. So in spelling, when we're writing English, we have 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, and U. But in the sounds of English, we have 15 vowels. And so when you think about vowels, if you just think A, that's not going to cover all of the vowel sounds that we have for that the letter A says. So I encourage you to begin thinking about vowel sounds and to learn some symbols for the vowel sounds so that you can separate them out. I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. Hi, nice to see you, Dalvani. So in some languages, the spelled letters for vowels match the sounds. So for example, in Spanish, if we look at the Spanish vowels, let me just make sure I can see the Spanish vowels. If we look at the Spanish vowels, we have E, A, O, and U. Now, ignore my Spanish pronunciation. I have an accent in Spanish because I'm not a native speaker. But the letter I always says E in Spanish, and the letter E always says A. And so you can count on, when you see a word, the spelling of the word matching the sounds. In American English, this is not the case. And this may be something that you're used to in your language. You may have variations between spelling and sounds, or you may have very consistent spelling for sounds. And so as you're learning English, it can be challenging. For example, if we think about the letter O, we might typically think that if I see an O, that I should be saying an O, that words with O have the O sound. But it only says the O sound some of the time. So yes, letter O can say O in words like no and so and goes. But most of the time, if you see the letter O, it actually says ah. So most of the time when you see an O, what you actually get is an ah. So what are some examples of this? In the word not, in the word job, in the word stop, in the word hot, problem. These are some of the most frequently used words that have the letter O but say the ah sound. And so you may have a tendency to say these words with more of an O sound or a different vowel than the ah vowel because you see the O. So you may have more rounding. Your not might sound more like not, the ah vowel or the O vowel. And so one suggestion I have for you is to write these with a different spelling. So for not, for example, I'm going to write AH to remind myself that the O in this word says ah. I also recommend that you learn the IPA symbol. So the ah sound is represented by this symbol. If you use the Oxford Learner's Dictionary, you'll learn and see the vowel sounds, or also on my website, speechmodification.com. So I can also write this in the IPA, and it would look like that, not. Whichever way helps you move away from lip rounding, move away from more of a note or not to not, an open vowel with no lip rounding is going to really help you. Becoming aware of which words have letter O but say ah will also help you. In addition, letter O also can say vowel schwa. And so O says which is vowel schwa, which looks either like this in a stressed word or like this in an unstressed word. Same sound, so the letter O says vowel schwa in words like done, one, other, and some. Many other words, money, etc. Again, I can rewrite this and think about it as done, or I can learn the IPA, done, and that's going to help me move away from using rounding, saying more of a don or don instead of a done sound. And then in addition, letter O can say oo. Most of the time, we don't have a pronunciation issue with that. So that's words like do, to, who. Usually we pronounce those correctly. And then lastly, letter O can say aw, which is this vowel in IPA. And that's on words like, in words like off, gone, dog. And there I do have some lip rounding, aw, but my mouth is more open. I don't want to have an O sound. O is more closed. So the errors that I hear sometimes, I might hear you say something more like oaf or dog, and you want to open up and have that lip rounding, dog rather than dog. How to make sense of this? This is just one example of a letter that can say lots of different sounds. It's true for the letter A, letter I, letter E as well. And looks like we have a question here. We're going to just ignore that ringing in the background. Sorry about that. We have one question. Can you please tell us how to pronounce the words each other together, like, each other together, like we love each other? Sure. So if we're saying each another, we do tend to link those two words. So each other, where the CH kind of almost sounds like it's on the beginning of the next word. So I would say that kind of like each other. And here's an example of our O vowel that says vowel schwa, so it's an sound, each other. Now, I don't really want to, I don't really need to say chother really strongly, each other, each other. I can have a little break there, each other. But naturally in running speech, we love each other, we respect each other, we talk to each other. It does end up kind of linked, kind of sounding like one word between each and other. Good question, thank you. Next question for a couple of words for pronunciation. The word gym and the word hilarious. I'm going to focus on the vowel. I'll tell you everything about pronouncing those. But gym, that's a good example where Y in spelling in English can represent different vowel sounds. In the word gym, it represents this sound, I, which is in words like it and did and different. And so it's the same pronunciation as the name Jim, same sounds. So the pronunciation would be a j, an I, and a Jim. And your other question was hilarious. Okay, lots of vowels in that one. Same initial vowel. This is the I vowel, same vowel as in Jim, and 3 syllables. So 4 syllables. First syllable is not stressed. Second syllable is stressed, hilare, and that's an A vowel and an vowel. And then E, us, and that's a schwa. Okay, so hilarious, 4 syllables. These are the IPA symbols. This is the I vowel. This is a R diphthong where I have to say an A and an air, just like the word air. So if I was going to write this out in a way to fool my brain into pronouncing it correctly, I would probably say us, hilarious. And I want to make sure that I'm lengthening here and that I'm short on the other syllables. That's going to really help your listener understand you. If I'm even, hilarious. It doesn't sound very hilarious. It sounds like I'm bored or somewhat monotonous. So I want to go short and long. Hilarious. Hopefully that helps you. Thank you for asking those questions. It's a good point that the letter Y can sometimes represent vowel sounds as well. And again, different vowel letters can make different sounds. You're so welcome. Thank you for the question. So how do we make sense of these vowel letters to move forward and begin correcting accent error patterns we may have? As I mentioned, finding and learning the IPA symbols, where one symbol represents one sound, can be very helpful in orienting to the vowels. In addition, I recommend using my vowel playlist and speechmodification.com to learn some vowel anchors. And what you'll find is that I have the vowel symbols. So here's the vowel in hilarious, vowel I. And then I have some words you can associate with it to make that association and to begin to compare vowel sounds. So the E vowel is green tea, the U vowel is blue shoe, etc. These are called vowel anchors, and I'm going to give you some links now for resources. So first of all, my vowels playlist. If you would prefer to stay on YouTube, you can go to this on my channel page or directly with this link. There it is. So I go through all of the different vowels of English. I go through the symbols, the sounds, some of the information we're talking about today. You can learn and look at specific vowels, and you can learn more about the overall vowel sound system that will help you with those changes. In addition, on my website, I have quite a number of free practice materials, videos, recordings, and explanations for vowels. And what I've done for you is I've taken a link that has all of those vowel lessons for you. I'm going to put that in the chat as well. Whenever you go to speechmodification.com, if you go to the blog page or the free online practice page, there's a search box, and you can type in vowels, or you can type in a vowel letter or your question, and the resources that are relevant to that will come up. So this is a link for all of the vowel sounds. There's also categories that help you search and find the information you're looking for. So please feel free to check those out. We also cover how to practice and improve your vowels in my American Accent 6-week course. And so I'll give you the link for that. It's a new course that I have. You can get a free trial and check that out, see all of the resources, and see if using a course, an online course, can help you move through your questions and move through these resources for American accent training in a systematic way. I'm always telling people that there's lots and lots of great information out there on the internet about American accent training, but there's almost too much. It's hard to know how to take that and apply it to you, and how to see and make real progress in your own speech. And so my 6-week course is a great way to, week by week, begin to build the skills you need to practice efficiently and effectively to improve your speech. So the link for that is in the comments for this video, and in the description for this video, and also here, I'll send it to you. Hello, nice to see you. So we have a question. Do you think it's possible to speak like a native? I definitely think that's possible. I think that it's challenging, that it takes a lot of work depending on where you're starting from. But what I think is the most important is that when you're speaking English, you really want to be well understood. You don't want your accent to interfere with how people understand you and how they interact with you. And if your accent makes you difficult to understand, then people are judging you on your accent rather than on the content of what you have to say. So for me, my lessons, my teaching really prioritizes clear communication, being well understood. Yes, I can also teach you how to sound just like an American, what little things you can change, what Americans do. I have a lot of details about that on my Real Talk playlist, my Real Talk course, and some of my advanced courses. But I would say the most important thing is to figure out which elements of your accent interfere with being understood and address those first. And what you'll find when you do training, when you do one of my courses, is that you'll begin to understand and have the tools you need to change those situations, to be better understood the first time, not have to repeat yourself as much, and to be aware of what it would take to change your accent to sound like a native speaker. People do it all the time. It does take a lot of time and practice because when we're talking, we really rely on our habits. We can't be thinking about where's my tongue for making that vowel sound? How am I moving my mouth? We have to think about what to say, and that takes most of our brain power. And so part of my SMART training really helps you to develop those new motor habits that match the American native speaker style, and to build those skills to sound more like a native speaker. So that's a long-winded answer to your question, but yes, you can sound like a native speaker. And first and foremost, you can improve your accent so that you're better understood and that it's not getting in your way when you're trying to communicate, which I think is the main priority. There's plenty of people who speak with accents who are very successful and are very well understood, but they probably worked on their speech so that even though they're speaking with an accent, they worked to be very clear so that they could get their message across and not have their accent be distracting to people. So, okay, great question. Thank you so much for being part of our lesson today. Your questions always help me know what videos I should be making, what content I should be covering, so that I can really help the people who are interested in improving their accent. And so I thank you for that. If you're watching this video on the replay, please feel free to leave comments and questions on replay because I do go back to those and direct you to where you can find the resources on my website and on my channel page. Both my website and channel page have a search box, so you can also use those to look for your topic, your word, your sound that you struggle with. You can also find many answers to those questions in my playlists. So some of the more difficult sounds like American R, like vowels like we're talking about today, or American TH, or intonation, or how to sound like a native speaker. You can find that by searching in the search box and using my playlists. So, okay, that's great. I'm going to talk now a little bit about a few upcoming things I have here in the Seattle area. So for those of you who are here, I'm going to be starting again some new classes on Saturdays beginning in October. Those are all levels classes, and so I hope you can join me for that. You can find information on my website. And I'll be teaching a free class on Monday, October the 22nd in Redmond. Everyone's invited to that. We'll be talking about some of the most common accent error patterns and what you can do about those, how to correct them. The calendar for all of my local events and classes is on my website, and I'm going to put that in the chat for you guys now. For those of you who are not around, I will be back again next Friday at 12 o'clock with our free class, so you don't have to be here in Seattle to take advantage of the free classes. And please feel free to ask questions. I'll keep going. I want to tell you a quick tip that you can use right away to start improving your accent. And so my quick tip is to take a look at the vowel sounds you have in your language to see how they line up with English. You can do this on my website at speechmodification.com. In my free download section of my store, I have accent pattern overviews for lots of different languages. You can also just look for the vowels of your language using Wikipedia or on the internet. But I'm going to show you an example. So we talked about Spanish already, and we were looking at how Spanish has these 5 vowels. And then here's the American English vowels. And so what you can do is if you look at this system for how we mark the vowels, I can see here that the Spanish vowels, some places they line up. So the E vowel, like in green tea, is the same in Spanish and in English. So I'm unlikely to make errors there. Usually Spanish speakers can say words with the E sound correctly. But then some of the vowels, like the I vowel, the one we were talking about in hilarious or did or didn't, we don't have that in Spanish. So they will have a tendency to use the E vowel instead. Similarly, the vowel, the vowel we have in words like get and met and said, the closest vowel in Spanish is e. So they may say a word like get, it may sound more like get rather than get. So looking for this kind of system in your native language can be really helpful in understanding which vowels you may have accent errors on. you can look at my newest video, Why We Have an Accent, for a more detailed description of the different vowel patterns. And in that video, again, I'm talking about Spanish, but these apply to many, many world languages because lots of languages have these 5 ordinal vowels, these main vowels. And so even though you have other vowels in your language, some differences, you will have some of the same patterns that Spanish speakers have. So check that video out, Why We Have Accents. It can be really useful for understanding where accents come from in terms of vowels and also in terms of other sounds. And then for the downloads, again, go to speechmodification.com, go to my store page, free downloads, and you can look for your native language to find some help with that. So we have a question. Or one word that's hard for one of our viewers today is the word aisle. Yes, so Americans really use a lot of contractions. So they, rather than saying I will, they'll contract I will to aisle. And so the first vowel in that is a diphthong. It's 2 vowel sounds. It's I. And then to go to that L, aisle, I can't move right from the I to the L. I'll. It doesn't work. I have to go in between. And so what I end up having there is a little schwa sound. So this is I, and this is the schwa, the sound and a l sound. And then I really also can't go from I to very smoothly. So I end up with kind of a Y sound. So it looks like this. I, yol. So, I, yol would be another way to write it. Now, I don't go very slowly. I don't say I, yol, but I can do that to be able to say aisle like an American. I can go very slowly at first. Aisle, and then begin to speed up and move those 2 together more quickly. Aisle. So your tongue, your mouth is going through all of those vowels. So that's 1, 2. This is a side glide. 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sounds in those 3 letters. So no wonder that's difficult. Just one comment about the ul at the ends of words. It's a little bit different than the L at the beginnings of words. So I would recommend checking out my videos for final L. Look that up in my search box on the channel page. And it'll help you with other words like aisle, where we have kind of that hidden schwa sound before the L. It'll tell you more details about how to hold your tongue, how it's different than the L at the beginnings of words. And I'm hoping that you'll find that to be useful. Here's a great comment. I saw an interview with Arnold the Terminator, and he said it was especially hard for him to say, I'll be back. And that was his signature line. I'm sure that Arnold Schwarzenegger he's a great example, like I was talking about, of someone who has an accent, but has been extremely successful. He was in lots of movies. He was the governor of California. He clearly was able to make himself understood and get his message out, even though perhaps he worked on clear communication. He worked on his accent to make sure that Americans and people worldwide could understand and find his English to be clear. So we had a further question about heel and shield, same phenomenon. So heel and shield, we just have an E yol instead. So that's like this. Here's heel. He yol. Again, heel. So to say them slowly, heel, and speed up, heel. Eventually, you'll sound like heel and shield. Again, we don't see those other sounds in the spelling, and so it can be hard for our brain to notice that that's what Americans are saying. That's how we connect those other beginning and ending sounds with those kind of hidden vowels. You can look for a video I have called Vowel to Vowel Linking, or look for that on my website, and that explains how that happens in many cases. Typically, we naturally link between vowels by moving through the sound or the w or the y sound so that we can move from vowel position to vowel position. Again, this is something that you'll find on my vowels playlist that will help you understand. But these are great questions because you know you might have difficulty with a certain word, but you're not necessarily sure why. And I can help you determine why that's difficult and then what to do to begin to be aware of other words where you might have difficulty because of similar patterns. Great. Awesome contributions today, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And we will be back again next week on Friday at 12 Pacific Standard Time. So I hope you can join me. I'm not sure what our topic will be yet. If you have suggestions, you can put those in the comments for American accent training topics you'd like to hear about. Otherwise, I'll come up with something that I hope will be useful for you. Thanks for being a part of class today. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. And remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. speechmodification.com.